Chairman of the Senate Committee on National Defense, Senator Panfilo Lacson. Good morning, sir. And of course, our Senate President pro tempore, Senator Jinggoy Ejercito Estrada. Good morning, sir. We would also like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished resource persons who have come here today. His Excellency Bishop Rodolfo Beltran. Good morning, Your Excellency. His Excellency Bishop Leopoldo C. Haushan. Good morning, Your Excellency. His Excellency Most Reverend Martin Humawad. Good morning, Your Excellency. His Excellency Bishop Juan de Dios M. Pueblos. Good morning, Your Excellency. His Excellency Archbishop Orlando B. Quevedo. Good morning, Your Excellency. His Excellency Most Reverend Ernesto A. Salgado. Not around? Oh. Please press the mic. Yes.
I am Auxiliary Bishop-elect David William Antonio of Nueva Segovia, representing His Excellency Most Reverend Ernesto Salgado, who is currently out of the country.
Thank you. His Excellency Archbishop Romulo G. Valles. Good morning. Good morning, Your Excellency. Valles. And of course, we would like to acknowledge the presence of His Eminence, Cardinal Ricardo Vidal. Good morning, Your Eminence. And of course, the presence of the President of the CBCP, His Excellency Most Reverend Nereo Odchimar. Good morning, Your Excellency. From the Department of Foreign Affairs, Yusek Esteban B. Conejos. Good morning. Good morning, sir. From the Commission on Audit, Commissioner Heidi L. Mendoza. Good morning, Commissioner. Also, Director Jose R. Rocha. Good morning, sir. From the present board of the PCSO, Ms. Margarita P. Wico. Good morning, ma'am. Attorney Jose Ferdinand M. Rojas II. Good morning, sir. Attorney Eduardo G. Araulo. Good morning, sir. Attorney Francisco Joaquin III. Good morning, sir. Ms. Mabel Mamba. Good morning, ma'am. Ms. Betty Nantes. Good morning, ma'am. Attorney Maria Aleta Tolentino. Good morning, ma'am. And members of the former PCSO board. Former Chairman, Mr. Sergio O. Valencia. Good morning, sir. Ms. Rosario C. Uriarte. Good morning, ma'am. Mr. Manuel Morato. Good morning, sir. Mr. Raymond T. Roquero. Good morning, sir. And the former Advertising and Promotions Manager of the PCSO, Mr. Manuel Garcia. Good morning, sir. Mr. Alexander Kisumbing. Good morning, sir. Mr. Ludovico Yuseco. Good morning, sir. The former chairman of the Commission on Audit, Reynaldo Villar. Good morning, sir. And from the Commission on Audit, also Attorney Fidela Tan. Good morning, ma'am. Okay, we will proceed with our hearing. The chair gives the floor to Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. As I told you earlier in my letter, I'm a very sick person. I've come only because I feel I am obliged to speak on constitutional law. And I will seek in advance the indulgence and the permission of our colleagues so that I can leave immediately after I deliver this speech. I've been told that I'm already medically at risk just by coming here. The title of this paper is Public Funds and Incidental Religious Benefit, the Constitutional Issue. First, I will discuss the facts very briefly, and then the law, and then the issue, and then I shall attempt a very modest and very short constitutional analysis. The facts. Any of the resource panel may feel free to correct me just by pressing your button. It appears from the 2009 report by the Commission on Audit that the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office charged to its charity fund the total amount of 6.94 million pesos, in effect about 7 million, for five utility vehicles granted to certain dioceses of the Catholic Church. On the face of each check, in so many words, the following explanation was typed, colon, quote, purchase of 1 unit 4x4 service vehicle to be used by the diocese in its various community and health programs, unquote. Each of the bishops involved used the PCSO grants to purchase the following utility vehicles: a second-hand 10-year-old Nissan Pathfinder pickup. I'll say that again. A second-hand 10-year-old Nissan Pathfinder pickup. I am not so believing this. It's not only second-hand, it is 10 years old, and it is a pickup. You mean to say we are devoting our resources and our time here to investigate a person because he bought using government funds for community purposes, according to the face of the check itself, for community and health programs, a second-hand 10-year-old Nissan Pathfinder pick-up? This is not intelligent. In addition, a Mitsubishi Strada pick-up. And then, a Toyota Grandia Hi-Ace, and a Mitsubishi Montero, and an Isuzu Crosswind. The COA report said that this action was a violation of the constitutional provision that no public money should be appropriated directly or indirectly for the use of any church. Those are the facts. Let me go to the law. The problem with some of us is just because we are literate, we think that we can read the Constitution. It takes 8 years to learn how to read the Constitution, and then after that you have to pass the bar. May I remind you of this basic principle. The law. The Constitution contains at least 3 specific provisions concerning the relationship of church and state. The first provision is found in Article 2, Declaration of Principles, which states in Section 6, quote, the separation of church and state shall be inviolable, unquote. What does that mean? Nobody knows. But you have to read 1,000,000 books to understand how you can possibly interpret that innocent-looking, innocuous-looking clause in our Constitution. And you have to wait for the Supreme Court to tell you what it actually means. Because the Constitution is what the Supreme Court says it is. It is not what some person who just knows how to read and write and is therefore qualified as literate says it should be. The second provision is found in Article 3, Bill of Rights, which states in Section 5, quote, no law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, unquote. And the third provision is found in Article 6, the Legislative Department, which states in Section 29, Paragraph 2, quote, no public money or property shall be appropriated, applied, paid, or employed directly or indirectly for the use, benefit, or support of any sect, church, denomination, sectarian, institution, or system of religion, unquote. So now we have before us, ladies and gentlemen, the facts and the law. Let us identify what is the issue. The issue is whether the 2009 COA report is correct in finding that the grant of 6.49 million pesos to certain dioceses of the Catholic Church violates the Constitution. I humbly submit that the COA report is wrong and that there was no constitutional violation. Under the Constitution, the power of the COA is to audit government funds, not to settle questions of constitutional law. That power is granted only to the Supreme Court. COA should have recommended that the constitutional issue should be raised with the Department of Justice, which is the official legal advisor of the executive branch of the government. Please, Mr. Chairman, Senator Gingona, please allow me now to proceed to a very humble constitutional analysis. Constitutional law consists not only of the Constitution, but also of the cases decided by the Supreme Court on constitutional grounds. So you cannot just say that just because you are literate and can read the Constitution in the same manner that you read a newspaper account or a best-selling book, that you already know what the Constitution says. Constitution plus cases decided by the Supreme Court equals constitutional law. So far, the only case decided by the Supreme Court that has some bearing on the present issue is the 1937 case of Aglipay versus Ruiz. The post office issued postage stamps commemorating an International Eucharistic Congress of the Catholic Church. Are you familiar with the post office? It was an agency of government where people wrote in longhand letters, put them in an envelope, and bought a stamp. We are no longer familiar with this process. But that was how it was during that time. The issue was brought by another church that public funds were being used to promote the interests of the Catholic Church. The issue was whether the stamps used for public money for religious purposes violated the Constitution. The Supreme Court ruled that there was no violation. Eh kung binasa ba ninyo itong Aglipay na ito, di wala na sana tayong problema. I quote, with your permission, what the Supreme Court said at that time. It has never been overruled by any subsequent Supreme Court. It is obvious that while the issuance and sale of the stamps in question may be said to be inseparably linked with an event of a religious character, the resulting propaganda, if any, received by the Roman Catholic Church was not the aim and pursuit of the government. We are of the opinion, said the Supreme Court, that the government should not be embarrassed in its activities simply because of incidental results. Allow me to boldface this clause, incidental results. This is the test of incidental result. More or less religious in character, if the purpose had in view is one which could legitimately be undertaken by appropriate legislation. The main purpose should not be frustrated by subordination to mere incidental results not contemplated. That is what the Supreme Court said. That is the only authoritative interpretation of those provisions of the Constitution that I've just read. They are not supposed to be interpreted by that group downstairs. I had to lie down in our lounge, and I was bombarded with the whining and the moaning and the groaning of all those people who seem to think that just because there is a Constitution as a printed document, every person and his mother has a right to interpret it. That is bodacious disregard of the Constitution, which is supreme in our country. Magbasa naman tayo ng ating saligang batas bago tayo magsalita. Kung mali ba o tama ba o ano bang dapat ginawa. Eh kung sa tingin nila mas magaling pa sila, sa mga senador, ay tumakbo sila sa Senado. Huwag na lekturan nila kami dyan. At saka, I'm too old a hand in politics to know, you cannot just send a group to the Senate, which is so otherwise remote from the rest of Metro Manila society, without spending money. Who spent money for those ralliers downstairs? I would like to know. Anyway, to return, Thus, the test is the basic purpose and not the mere incidental result. Tingnan mo, ano bang talaga ang pakay ng gobyerno nang bigay siya ng pera. Ngayon, maraming fallout yun. Merong benefits yan, merong liabilities, merong advantages, merong disadvantages. Those are the incidents. Kaya sabi ng ating Korte Suprema, ang tingnan mo ay ang main purpose niya, hindi yung incidents niya. The basic purpose of the grant of public funds is clearly stated on the face of the checks themselves. Did anyone ever bother to see how these checks were worded before spouting off before the media? I was in a friend's house this morning. She happens to be a doctor. And I heard on the radio, pag-uusapan ang mamahalin na sasakyan. Mamahalin? Second-hand 10-year-old Nissan, pick up. Mitsubishi Strada, pick up. 3 pick up, 5 silang obispo. At saka tingnan mo kung saan ang mga opisina nito mga obispo na ito. Hindi bale kung nandito sila sa Metro Manila. Ang isa ay sa Bontoc, Lagawe. Ang isa naman ay sa Bangged, Abra. Ang isa ay sa Cotabato. Mga bulubundukin na lugar ito at mahirap talagang mag-ikot. Caritas, Nueva Segovia, and Vigan, Ilocos Sur. Please forgive me, fellow Filipinos, I cannot control myself because this is such an outrage to the basic function of the Philippine Senate. You are asking us to investigate a matter that should never have passed first-year law in any reputable university in this country. The legend on the face of the checks, quote, purchase of service vehicles to be used by the diocese in its various community and health programs. Unquote. Don't they speak English here? I thought English is one of our national languages. Hindi ba na naintindihan ito? If there is any benefit to the bishop in the diocese, it is merely incidental. You want to debate this with me? I will do so after I leave session floor. The threefold test. Purpose, effect, entanglement. The Provisional Bill of Rights consists of 2 clauses. That's what lawyers like to say. Number 1, the Establishment Clause, prohibiting Congress from establishing a state religion. Kaya sa ilalim nitong probisyon ng ating saligang batas, hindi ka dapat magtulong na ginagamit ng pera ng gobyerno sa maski anong simbahan o relihiyon. Dahil para bang ginawa mo na siyang official state religion. That is the meaning of the Establishment Clause. And in addition to the Establishment Clause, the Constitution provides for the so-called Free Exercise Clause, which denies to Congress the power to prohibit the free exercise of religion. But today is a time only for the Establishment Clause. Under the Establishment Clause, the general guide is the concept of neutrality. This means that government should act to achieve only goals which are secular, meaning goals which are worldly, have to do with quotidian living, with day-to-day life. Does not have to do with the spiritual or intangible entities. The meaning of the Establishment Clause is, number 1, the goal should be secular. It should be worldly. It should have something to do with the day-to-day lives of citizens, not spiritual. And the rule is, government should achieve secular goals in a religiously neutral manner. Huwag kang mamili kung ano ang relihiyon at natulungan mo. Basta lahat sila. Gumawa ka ng criteria mo. If they fit the criteria, di bigay mo. Kung nakakatulong sila sa programang panlipunan. To determine what is a religiously neutral act, the U.S. Supreme Court has adopted a threefold test called purpose, effect, entanglement. To determine whether a law that is religiously neutral on its face violates the Establishment Clause, the court will consider 3 factors, which I shall now apply to the pending PCSO case. Number 1, does the law have a secular purpose? That is your first question. Answer, yes, because the PCSO law, also known as RA number 1169 as amended, authorizes the PCSO, quote, to engage in health and welfare-related investments, programs, projects, and activities, unquote, by itself or in collaboration with others. Number 2, does the law have the primary effect of advancing on the one hand or inhibiting on the other hand? Advancing or inhibiting religion? Answer, no. The PCSO charter does not even mention religion. 3, does the law create an excessive entanglement between government and religion? Yun bang binigyan mo ng pera, pagkatapos, ang gulo-gulo ng inyong relasyon dahil i-check mo pang pera niya, ang mga papeles niya, at ang mga dokumento niya, at iba pang mga ebidensya. That is excessive entanglement. Answer, no, as I shall now explain. The threefold test was laid down in the 1971 case of Lemon v. Kurtzman, decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. It is not binding because it is an American case, but it is authoritative in our jurisdiction until our own Philippine Supreme Court makes a pronouncement on the same subject matter which differs in substance. In Lemon, the court said that in determining whether a law involves excessive entanglement between government and religion, we must conduct the following analysis. Number 1, consider the nature of the institution that received the benefit from the government. Number 2, consider the nature of the aid that the government gave to the bishops. Number 3, consider the resulting relationship between the government and the bishops. I humbly submit that the donations passed this threefold legal test under existing jurisprudence. However, during the hearing, PCSO management apparently admitted that it has not given similar donations to any other religion. If that is so, then PCSO management appears to be giving preference to the Catholic religion, and that, in my mind, would be a violation of the Establishment Clause. But here again, there is no liability on the part of the recipients or of the bishops. That would be the liability of the management, if it can be proved. Mr. Chairman, I am finished with the constitutional issue. Please allow me just 5 more minutes to make this announcement. I am chair of the Senate Committee, as the chairperson noted, Committee on Constitutional Amendments, Revision of Laws and Codes. In effect, the Senate Committee on Revision of Laws. I shall call a public hearing this August on a new PCSO charter, as well as a new PAGCOR charter. Both the PCSO and PAGCOR funds constitute the President's Social Fund, which has served as a black budget. Itim na listahan ng tinatanggap na pera at ginagastos na pera ng ating gobyerno. Tinatawag na black budget, itim na budget. Because it is a budget insulated from public scrutiny. Yun ang problema dito eh. Ang tagal-tagal na nitong mga ahensya na ito. Wala rin lang nakapag-isip doon sa mga marurunong na mga opisyal ng ating gobyerno na dapat itong mga ito ay magbigay ng kasulatan nila, mga regulasyon nila, paano ka kumuha ng pera. Sila lang, ang desisyon, sila lang, and they're not elected by the people. Their budget is confined to the dark and insulated from sunshine, sneak through the back door, instead of undergoing the open process of congressional budgetary authorization. Sa Senado, magdidiscuss na naman tayo ng budget for next year. After so ng July 25, President Aquino will submit his budget to the House and the Senate. Hala, away ng away, maraming sagutan tungkol sa gagastusin. Pero itong mga ito, itong pera ng PAGCOR at ng PCSO, hindi pinag-uusapan sa publiko. Hindi sinusulat o report, binabalita ng media. Sila lang ang gumagawa. Ba't walang nakapag-isip na presidente niyan ng Pilipinas? At ba't walang chairperson ng PCSO, ng PAGCOR, nag-isip niyan? Tumigil na nga kayo. Under existing law, PCSO generates revenues from the sales of sweepstakes and lotto tickets. The resulting revenues are allocated as follows: 55% to the prize fund, 30% to the charity fund, 15% to the operating fund. The charity fund and the operating fund, or in other words, 45% of the revenues, are allocated by the PCSO board, apparently with the approval of the President. According to the 2009 COA report, the total deposits to the bank's current account for the 3 funds in 2008 were in the aggregate amount of 7.6 billion pesos. B, as in Bulaga talaga.
Mr. Chair, may I request the
Senator Enrile.
distinguished member to finish because time is very important for us.
Yes, sir, I will obey you immediately. I have only 2 more pages left. to give to the PCSO board the power to allocate the galactic sum of 20 billion pesos a year. 20 billion pesos, isang taon, yun ang hawak nilang pera, is to excavate a yawning democratic deficit. The present situation is feudal and contrary to best international practice. The best practice is the one fund concept, under which all government revenues are transmitted to the Treasury and disbursed only as authorized by Congress. There should be no President Social Fund because the entire government budget is already the President's budget. That is why media sometimes call it the President's budget. The new law, in my contemplation, will repeal not only the PCSO Charter, but also all the various Republic Acts that seek to allocate certain PSO funds to alphabet soup national programs. The new law will limit the PCSO board only to the function of regulating and supervising sweepstakes and lotto operations. Sige, tingnan natin kung meron pang may gustong pumunta sa charity sweepstakes. Kasi ngayon, pinag-awayan yung pwesto na yan eh. O di, magbantay sila ng makabayo doon. The entire revenues for the year will be remitted to the National Treasury. Only the President and Congress will prioritize and allocate the fund, except that 5% of the Lotto earnings shall be given to local government units and only 10% shall be allocated for administrative expenses. Biro mo yon? Sa 20 billion na kinikita mo, 10% pa lang nun, 2 billion na. The PSO bureaucracy shall be slashed, their allowances and privileges abolished, and the public relations budget removed. And while this process of building on the ashes takes place, I respectfully move that this Blue Ribbon Committee should immediately recommend to the Ombudsman the criminal prosecution of all PCSO officials responsible for depositing 2008 with a private commercial bank, ang swerte itong bangko na ito, the sum of 1.5 billion pesos without the prior approval of the Department of Finance as required under DOF Order number 2705. By the process of lateral thinking, I respectfully move to investigate the source of the false report about the so-called, quote, Pajero bishops, unquote, when it turns out that no Pajeros were involved. Sino ang invento niyan? Bukang bibig na ngayon yung Pajero bishops, wala palang Pajero. Who is this maleficent, twisted genius? Was this media spin designed to cover up the crime of depositing without authorization in a private bank the sum of 1.5 billion pesos? Was this media spin further designed to call public attention away from the annual sum of some 20 billion pesos made available to the sticky fingers of the PCSO board? Like the wanton world-class theft of public funds and conspicuous consumption generated by the road users tax, the PCSO anomaly is bodaciously corrupt. Keep the bishops out of it. That is the end. As directed, I terminate whatever it is I have to say because I'm allegedly using up the time of my colleagues. They're entitled to their time, so I'm entitled to walk out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, a few house rules. This is a very charged issue. Please refrain from clapping, cheering, and jeering. And also, please, cell phones, put your cell phones on silent. Okay, we've come here to listen, and therefore, I understand Your Excellencies have an opening statement. Is there anyone who wants to read the statement?
Yes, Your Honors. I wish to first read into the record, if permitted, the pastoral letter.
Your Excellency, forgive me for interrupting, but one last administrative matter. All those who are here today who have been invited and who have not taken their oath, please stand to take your oath. Committee Secretary, please administer the oath.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding? Kindly nod if you say I do. Thank you.
Okay. Your Excellency, please proceed.